Hey everybody, it's the Nitty Professor here today to address the question of if you can buy Red Wing boots, why bother getting Truman boots? After all, they're a little higher price. What do you get for the extra money? That's what I want to ask. So we have four sort of comparison contrast pairs that I want to kind of talk about, and we'll start off with these Red Wings. Let me see if I can get the number for you. 8800s in the dusty blue Abilene from Red Wing. These are beautiful boots. I purchased these recently in Stockholm. I love the color and the leather. This is a very substantial leather. I'm finding the young man who sold these to me told me that they were the leather was a bit drier and maybe a little bit tougher. For construction wise, we've got a leather insole in there. We've got I understand that this collar is goat skinned. It also has a kind of a little fabric, like a interfacing, what I would call in sewing terms, and a Goodyear welt with your traction tread sole. So these boots are holding up very well, and you know, they were, well, I probably paid about $360 for them. I love the leather laces. And for a bit of a comparison contrast, I've got these Trumans here, and I'm kind of looking here because one of the issues that I have with Red Wings, for some reason they hit me on the side, especially like the Iron Rangers, in a place where the Trumans don't. And I'm not sure, you know, I'd have to like line these up to see how to explain it. I don't know, maybe it's just the nature of the stitching. In the case of these Trumans, so we've got blue, great. But this leather is more substantial leather than the dusty blue Abilene. Now, all of the leathers that Red Wing uses are produced there in Red Wing at the Foot Tannery. This product here is a British product. It'll come to me, CF Stead, and CF Stead makes a variety of suede and rough out leathers. It's hard to believe, but this is actually a flesh out leather. You can see the veining on there. Sorry about the dust. These boots do get worn, y'all, so don't be afraid to see evidence of that. I love the veining on this. You don't really see anything like that with Red Wing leathers. We got a cat incoming. Look out, Paris. Hey, we don't need the view of your butt, honey, but it's a very pretty butt. And so another construction difference. So we have the goat collar on the Red Wing, and on the Truman boot, there's actually a whole other layer of leather that's gone into it. I'm going to see if I can make it a little bit more visible there. You can see they've actually sewn on an entire same thickness layer of leather. And this is a cap toe. So obviously this is a different construction, but we'll talk about that with some other comparison boots here in a minute. Hey, don't eat my laces. Paris wants my laces. Naughty. Naughty. Got a cap toe, obviously. So see the cap toe in the Red Wing boots on the Iron Rangers, and sometimes it just adds another layer of protection, which is welcome. But if you look at this midsole here as well, obviously it's a completely different sole on the boot. But I want to sort of pay attention to the welt and the midsole on these Trumans. It's very substantial construction. Now, these boots were heck to break in. So let's just be honest, partly because, and I've covered this in other videos, it is a shrunken leather, and it's going to take more work to break in a shrunken leather. It's thicker, it's tighter, it's just more substantial. But once you do it, you get treated then to this awesome fitting, sturdy, weatherproof pair of boots. And the color alone, hey, leave my laces alone. The color alone is unique. I did go on Truman's website today to look at the colors that they have. And I am glad Red Wing is trying to put themselves out there a little bit. But I've never seen anything quite like this, you know, partly because, again, Truman uses different tanneries. In fact, they often try to obscure which tannery they're using. I think it's like a proprietary kind of thing. It's like, it's our secret and you can't know. Because, you know, they want to have an edge on the competition. So let's just look at, well, and again, you know, it's hard to pick fair comparisons. Because, you know, they're two different companies. And just that alone, the fact that what they make is so different, I think is justification for the existence of choice, right? So let's just take a look at the Lineman boots. These are the 2937s from Red Wing. Got a Vibram sole, an actual Vibram lug sole, very, very sturdy. And this has kind of a Norwegian storm welt going on there with the raised lip. So it's more weatherproof. I have the issue here on the side of the boot with how it is arranged. Something about Red Wing when they hit my ankle. I don't know. I just have to break that in hard. But again, we have a lovely insole in there. I took the collar off this because it was giving me a blister, and I like them fine without it. In fact, taking that off made it easier to break these in, and I don't have any problem with how they're holding up. So these boots are very sturdy. This is the Hawthorne muleskin or leather. This leather, you know, I don't have a micrometer to actually measure the gauge, but my overall experience with the leathers of Red Wing boots is they're not as substantial as the Truman leathers. So for comparison, I have a lug sole boot here. These are the Black Cherry Shrunken Bison boots from Truman. Now their lug sole on this is a Truman specific sole, and some people don't like that the stitching is going around the lugs instead of over top of them. I have zero problem with that. I do believe, hello Paris, that Truman now has an option on some of their boots that has the lugs going from, you know, side to side, just like on the Vibram. So now these, there is no stitching, right? It looks like it's and that makes me kind of wonder, so is this like glued on? There are nail holes in the heel. Now if you know something I don't know about how this sole is attached, I would be very interested in that. I would be very interested in how the sole is applied on the Red Wings, because that can also affect construction. With the Truman, we can see the nails are visible in there. You can actually see them, and hold it up close, see if you can see the nails. You can see them right in there. And of course we have the yellow stitching. So looking at the midsole again, it is very substantial. This is a Goodyear welt. And again, the leather. I think this is a CF Stead product. If you know something I don't, let me know. Because other tanneries that Truman uses are the Seidel. Some of their leathers come from Italy. I don't know what tanneries you guys might know. I would love to know. And of course Horween. So they get their leathers from a lot of different places. And to me, that's a huge reason why I'm so glad I have access to Truman boots. I looked up the prices on these boots today, and on average, I want to say average, Red Wings are probably about $100 cheaper than Truman's. And let's look at a couple more examples while I'm gabbing about that. Obviously, there are a lot of different models, and there are different soles, different leathers, different constructions. So with both companies, we have boots that are less and more expensive depending on, you know, what goes into them, how tall they are, and whether they have a cap toe and all that kind of stuff. Right, Paris? Oh, now she's purring. So again, you know, not really comparison, more of just like, you know, just kind of talking about some of the attributes of these boots. I've got the Iron Ranger and the copper rough and tough leather. Absolutely love the Iron Rangers, and I think part of the reason that I love them is just this old-timey look. Truman Truman does have more styles than what I own, partly because I can only buy so many boots. And let's face it, Red Wings are more accessible. So from the price point standpoint alone, and the fact that they have various ways to get them at a discount, factory rejects and all that kind of stuff, it's easier to own more Red Wings. I would love to get more Trumans, but then there are other brands too, which, you know, that's another video, right? But anyhow, so the Iron Rangers, again, we've got your typical insole construction. There's like some kind of cotton fabric going on in here once you get past the foot. Very similar hardware, but again, like this midsole, it's so thin. If you compare that with, say, well, this, okay? Look at that midsole. I mean, it's kind of hard to compare the two. This is the Evergreen, hey Paris, Chiha from Truman. Again, we got a cap toe, we've got the lugs, and Goodyear welt. It's a 270 degree welt, not the 360. However, that's the same case for the Iron Ranger. But in any case, yeah, just don't knock over the camera, honey. That's really annoying. Yeah, here, you wanted to go play with your boot on the floor, honey. Any case, Paris. Midsole, I want to talk midsole because really that is a significant difference between the Iron Rangers and the Trumans. This pair of boots was remarkably easy to break in. I have done videos on these boots and talked about them being tanks. No, don't knock my mail over. I know I need to throw it away. I'm a bit of a hoarder. But I did a video one time. I took these to Trondheim, and that was the only boots I wore for the entire week. I think I walked like 80 miles in them. And they just, it was so lovely how they held up. Now, I'm not saying that the Iron Rangers couldn't hold up that way, but if I'm deciding on a pair of boots to take on a week when I'm going to walk 70, 80 miles, I'm probably going to pick the Trumans. In fact, that's what I've done pretty consistently. I'm trying to remember the ones I wore the last trip. I can't remember. But that's probably just because I ain't getting no younger. But in any case, what else I love about these Trumans? So again, we have this collar with 2 layers of leather up there. Not just, you know, like a flimsy little goat skin thing. And to be fair, okay, we've got that going on here too. But this leather is thinner, y'all. It is thinner. It's just thinner. So fine, it costs a little bit less, and it's maybe easier to break in, although again, not right here. Presses right on my bone, don't know why. But these Trumans are roomy in a way that gives my feet breathing room, while up here, because this is so substantial, hugging my ankle and giving me all the support I could ever want. While, I mean, I had these on the other day and I literally wore them for 12 hours and I was just like, these are practically slippers. That's the way they feel, but they protect my feet like tanks. They're just that good. Last comparison, want to lay on you guys. We've got these beautiful Red Wing Writer's Room 4331s. This is, to my mind, the best construction of the Iron Ranger. We have the Chemigum sole instead of the Vibram mini lug, and guess what? More substantial midsole. However, this was a limited edition. This was not the usual construction for an Iron Ranger boot. Even the last use was a little bit different. I don't have a rundown on all the differences. Inside, it looks pretty similar. We've got, again, double layer up here, very good, but we still have the same leather from SB Foot. I'm thinking, I used to know what leather this is. Let me see if I can look it up. It just says black. In any case, it's not the Prairie, it's not the Excalibur. You tell me. You tell me. I've forgotten which black one it is, but it's a matte finish. And I do love these boots, but I'll show you a pair that I love just a hair more. These babies right here. I'm gonna turn them around because I think I was in maybe some poop. Gonna have to wash them. Yes, I wear my boots. So this is the Truman in a Viola horse rump. We have an unstructured toe here. We have more options with the Trumans as far as sometimes you can pick, you know, what you would like to have on there. This leather is from Italy. And again, it's horse rump. I don't know of any boot from Red Wing where I can pick shrunken bison or horse rump. Have you heard that? I don't know. It doesn't seem like those kinds of options are available. And this is my favorite leather of all the leathers that I have on any of my boots. It's tough and flexible, I guess, in a way that is just sort of unique, because on the one hand, they're not going to go anywhere. I wore these boots in Copenhagen whole week. Again, same scenario as with those other Trumans. This is the only pair of boots I wore, and I wore them like 10 hours a day, walking all over Hillongong. We've got that wonderful, substantial midsole going on, perfectly good Goodyear welt, nothing extra special. I know there are, you know, even better boots than these, so one of these days I'll be able to afford those John Lofgrens. But we've got a V-bar sole on here, not an option with the Red Wings, and even the innards, the insole of these Truman boots is just a step up from the insole of the Iron Rangers. It's not like a two-piece thing where we've got it kind of got that little thing glued on there. It's one piece. It's veg tan leather as far as I know, and it's just beautiful. The whole boot is just, it's a work of art. It's so beautiful. This happens not to have the thicker on top, the double layer, but it doesn't need it because this leather is just, again, while being remarkably flexible, it's remarkably substantial, and it is just a step up from the leather on the Iron Rangers. So what are you getting for the extra $100? You're getting better midsole construction, you're getting more sole options, you're getting more leather options, you're getting thicker leather. Everything is just like a step up. And there are times when you just really need that. Again, if I'm choosing a boot to just take for a week of urban jungle hiking or whatever, I know I can rely on the Trumans. In fact, I've actually taken Wolverine 1,000-mile boots on that kind of trip over the Red Wing boots. And now that I'm acquainted with the mock toes, I could see maybe taking a risk on a pair of boots like that. But the last time, now I finally remember the boots that I took with me to Stockholm, I took my Rancourts. And that was a very good choice. I don't think I've ever decided I could rely on the Red Wings for a trip like that, where I've got one pair of boots, rain, shine, snow, whatever, I'm going to rely on it, and it's going to be comfortable, and I'll be able to wear it and be supported. I have yet to say that about a pair of Red Wings. So that right there is kind of a good thing to end on. I've said that multiple times about my Trumans, my Rancourts, and even, I know, shocker, right? My Wolverine 1,000 miles. So anyhow, I would love to know your experience, why you would invest, oh, we got a box elder bug, in, one brand of boots over others. And I know some of you out there, you already own the John Lofgrens or, the super duper trickers, whatever. And one of these days, I could probably forgo 3 pairs of Red Wings and I could get one of those pairs. And it would probably be a good decision because it would take up less room. So in any case, I look forward to learning about your experiences. I hope you found this video somewhat informative and useful. I appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your week. Take care. Bye.